It's time to take you inside the huddle. Here we go. Straight from the source. This is the Players Club with JJ and Alex, featuring Cougar offensive lineman Connor Pay on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. It is another edition of the Players Club right here at 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen. Our program is always brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, nutritious boost. Another edition of the Players Club this week. You heard it. And Connor Pay is our guest, as always. Connor, what's up, man? How you doing?
Doing good, guys. How are you doing?
Oh, we're hanging in.
Probably doing better than you. I know you're a little bit of pain right now.
A little bit.
You want to update Cougar fans on what happened and what your status is?
Yeah, so kind of unfortunate, on our second series, the first play of our second series of the game, doing a zone combo block I've done a million times. Unfortunately tried to put force through my foot and it popped on me a little bit, and so unfortunately I fractured my foot. So I'll have surgery this week. They'll put a screw in it, and then 6-week timetable is the goal. So looking at the Utah game for a return.
That would be awesome.
I'm not going to say anything, but I looked at JJ today and I said, I don't know where Connor's going to be coming back, but there's 2 bye weeks between now and Utah.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? If there's going to be a game that you and the doctors figure out when they tell you, oftentimes, they do the prognosis thing and they go, hey, we feel pretty darn good about that. Did they feel good about the 6-week time frame? And is that something that everybody's kind of looking at it going, yeah, I think after everything's done, that might be like, is that kind of typical for what they're seeing or what the type of injury is?
Hard to know right now.
Yeah.
Because I've had this exact procedure done on my other foot in high school.
Oh.
When you put a screw in one of your metatarsals in your foot, it's really just a waiting game to make sure that screw really fuses really well with the bones in your foot. And so once that screw fuses, it's actually a lot stronger than it was before. So the risk of re-injury is almost zero. And so the hard part is just waiting until that screw is able to sink in. And so that can happen in anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. And so, I'll have some follow-up x-rays done after 4 weeks. And if everything's looking really good, which I hope it will, then we can start doing more. I'll be able to start putting weight on it and things and ramping things up, because it's a pretty fast recovery once you're cleared to start becoming weight bearing. So it's that's really what I'm just going to have to wait for. So I'm not really going to know for sure until we go to those 4-week or so x-rays.
Wow, considering what it looked like on Saturday, Connor, and what it is, there's a silver lining here. You would only miss 3 games if that timetable played out. I know there's never a good time to break a foot, but there probably wasn't a better time to have an injury during the season than right now, if that's the case. Because if you only miss 3 games on a 6-week recovery, that's pretty important. That's significant.
Yeah, no, in retrospect, looking back at everything over the weekend, it really, if it was going to happen, it couldn't have happened in a better way or at a better time. So any other injury to my foot other than this kind would have been season ending. And just the timetable where it falls onto 2 bye weeks, is I got lucky in a lot of ways, and there's a real possibility too that maybe I won't be ready in that 6 weeks, and I'll have to bump it to 7, and get back for the game following Utah. But my goal for sure right now is that Utah game, so I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that that screw seeds well into that bone so I can be good to go.
This portion of the show brought to you by America's dairy farmers.
Got milk?
Like everyone's all, please, just something. Just they're like, hit the Start drinking half and half, Connor, if it's going to help you out. I mean, that's where we're at this point.
Yeah, I'll do whatever they want me to do. Trust me.
So the two things Kalani talked about in his weekly press conference, talked about how it's like, hey, I mean, obviously when you get a guy like Connor who goes down, the anchor of that offensive line, one of the biggest, leaders on this team. And he said, yeah, he's going to continue to lead this team, whether he's on, the sideline, during this process, or if he's, in the film room and all that stuff. What does that look like? Do they say get right and then come back to the facility later, or how are you going to try to attack those?
Definitely not.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is how are you going to try to attack the leadership side of this? Because I know that's a hugely important thing to you.
Well, I'm going to be. I mean, they got me on my little scooter, so I'll be out there kicking it at practice and yelling at people, doing whatever. And I think I told Coach Woods in the locker room after the game, like, you better put me to work, man. Like, I'm gonna be in that facility, every day. And so I'd say you have a third GA for the next few weeks. So just let me do what I can. And I think really primarily what I'm gonna try to do is just be there and help the backup centers, be ready to be in a spot to play in a game. I think that's probably what my biggest role will be, is just making sure I help those guys prepare properly so they can go out there and play their best and do the best for the team.
Connor, I'm blown away by your positive attitude considering the circumstances and the way you're handling this. What was the period of time like after the injury happened that you've been able to come to, I guess, to have this type of outlook on this and in a positive way? I mean, I'm sure it was devastating when you knew it happened, but you seem to be very upbeat and positive about it.
Yeah, it was. I mean, when I first found out, obviously it was pretty devastating. A lot of tears were shed in the locker room and stuff, just, because I'm like, there's not a soul in there. So I get carted back there. There's nobody in there. I'm taking a quick shower or something before they throw me in the boot. I'm just in there by myself, So there's a lot of emotions. And, but, as I just started thinking about it more, and just, I think the fact that I had gone through this exact procedure before, I know what the rehab's like. I think that was helpful, where it was like, okay, I've been through this process. I know I can do this efficiently and quickly. And I know that I can come back without issues, which is what I did in high school when I had the same thing on the other foot. And so I think as I just started thinking more about the circumstances, and less about the event itself, and just thinking about, okay, like, hey, there's a lot of tender mercies in this situation. There's a lot of things that could have happened that would have made it a lot worse. So I think once I started thinking like that, I had a chance. My parents came down to the locker room, had a chance to chat with them about it and stuff. And obviously devastating at first, and not how I envisioned my senior season going. Because one of the things I'd always prided myself on was my durability. I'd never, in my entire college career, I'd never even missed a practice, 4 years and 40 plus starts. And so that was something I prided myself on. And so for this to just kind of suddenly happen was, a little bit heartbreaking. But like I said, the more I thought about the circumstances and how lucky I actually am, all things considered, it kind of helped my mental state quite a bit.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of these guys who have come in and had to take some of that load of what the. I mean, what's interesting to me is these interior linemen. Your guys, they're asking them to do a lot. Like Sonny Mocassini's playing center on Saturday, and then they start shifting guys around. Austin Leosa getting some time. And Bruce Mitchell obviously came in a couple weeks ago, and they feel like that. I think they have a lot of trust in him, as a young kid. But what's the center position looking like? I mean, it seems like there's a handful or a couple of guys who could do it. So who are they gonna lean on, and what are we looking at here? Is that just something that Coach Woods is gonna have to figure out here in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously the obvious answer is just to continue with who replaced me. Sonny Mocassini. He's been kind of the true depth backup center for most of the year, and then after him, it would probably go Bruce Mitchell. Who's started games at guard, and he's had reps at center in practice, but none in games yet. And then after that, it would probably go Jake Eichhorn, I would guess. I mean, Coach Woods would probably be able to answer these questions better than me, but so I think between those three guys, I'm pretty comfortable that, spending some extra time with me, having a bye week is really helpful right now. Kind of give them 2 weeks to prepare to play in a game where maybe they haven't played that position before. So I feel totally confident in those guys to be able to go in there and do a good job.
With a bye week, no game this week, it kind of gives us a chance to reflect on what BYU has accomplished so far this season. And you're making idiots like us look pretty dumb because you guys have exceeded expectations. 5-0. You're ranked 17th in the country. You're at the top of the Big 12 standings after a couple of weeks. Obviously, the season hasn't been perfect, but you're looking at this and thinking, man, you guys are in a great position here. What are your thoughts on the 5-0 start and where you guys are at and where you're going to go?
I mean, obviously really proud of the team and the way that they've responded, and how they've accepted the challenge, to be better than what we were last year. And, we've talked about this before, how that mindset began in January and how, none of us in the building or on the team are surprised about where we're at right now, but we're still hungry for more. And I think that's one of the cool things about this team is just the emotional maturity to reset from week to week, and just that understanding that what we did last week has absolutely no bearing on what we're going to do in this next week, and we have to go and earn it again, earn the right to play well, have great weeks of practice. And I think that's something that we've already done as we shift into the bye week mode now, where yes, it is a time for our bodies to recover and get healthy, but it's also a work week. Obviously for me, I'm pretty bummed that I can't be out there on the practice field with my guys, practicing with them, but I'll be out there with them and making sure that we're pushing it and getting better this week, because you have to get better every single week, regardless of whether you play a game or not. So we need to improve this week and then improve again next week to prep for Arizona. And I think that mindset, that week-to-week reset, just focusing on the task at hand, has been one of the main reasons why we've been able to, I think, have some of the successes that we've had this year, because it hasn't been perfect by any means. Mm-hmm. And there's still so much we can improve upon. But I think this team trusts each other. We rely on each other, and we trust our preparation. And the offense has full confidence when the defense goes out to take the field to get a stop, and vice versa. Same with special teams. And I think that's a pretty special thing about this team.
You use the word special. Kalani used the word special at his presser this week too about this team, and kind of indicating like we feel like we have had this group. It's a special group, and obviously that kind of that kind of title, a special team, comes with a lot. But he said that he felt like that before the season even started. You mentioned the same thing, and so. What is it that makes up a special team then? And what is it that, because, I think everybody else looks around and goes, well, tell me if you, go to the college football playoff, or if you win the Big 12 championship, or go to the Big 12 championship game. But what is it that you guys look at because everybody's talked about how tight this locker room is, and how do you get there though? You know what I mean? Like that I want to know how this team suddenly turned that corner and got to the point where they've achieved that.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think a big reason is that a lot of the guys from last year's team chose to return. And when you go, it's a really bonding experience for you to go through something really crappy together. And to stick together and not turn on each other and know like, hey, I want to come back this next year and make things right. That's a really bonding experience, to essentially, be, I don't want to say it this way because I don't know if it was viewed this way, but I'll almost be hated, together at the end of last year, or have a whole fan base disappointed in you and how you performed and stuff. And it's kind of just you and your teammates there kind of at rock bottom, nowhere else to go except nowhere to turn except to each other. And, I think that's where it was kind of born, was just those bonding experiences we had last year, where it was really kind of us against the world in a lot of ways. because we just weren't performing well, and we had to find a way to get out of that. And this offseason, I think we took that mindset, and this team has an incredible buy-in to the culture that Kalani's trying to build and the small everyday details, better than any BYU team I've been a part of so far. And I think that's played a massive role, as well as that this team, we care about the details. And the details matter to us. Every week we have a little players meeting on Mondays, and the captains, we get up there and say a few things. And every week we talk about how, okay, well, we had another win, and that means we need to double down on the details, and make sure that we're not taking anything for granted, because we don't want to lose out on opportunities to have a special season or do something cool because we forgot about the small details, or we did something stupid and self-inflicted, and the team has bought into that, and they want to be a part of something special, and they're willing to make sacrifices for it. And so I think for those reasons why this team has been a little different than ones I've been on in the past.
You dropped 38 against Kansas State, and some critics might have looked at that and said, some of those scores were fluky, and that's really, that game got weird. How important was it for you to follow that up with a 31-point first half on the road?
That was a big deal for us. We knew we wanted to come out and start fast. And, just show that, like, this is something we can do week in and week out. And so far we've been able to show that we can do that. But again, that comes from, on Monday, we reset after the Kansas State game. Like, hey, great win, a lot of cool things to build on, a lot of things to fix. Great. Guess what? That means nothing to what we have to go out and do this week. So we had a great week of practice, and the offense was executing at a high level, and we were able to come out and start fast, and execute at a high level in the first half. And obviously had some lulls a little bit in the second half and got to do better about finishing out those last couple quarters. But I'm glad we were able to do enough to win.
Looking at the rest of your schedule, I don't know how much further into everything. I know every game you guys look at, game on game, and for you, as you start to look at these weeks about making a return, how is it that the team is approaching kind of the whole season? I mean, what's crazy is we're almost already halfway through. I know this happens every year. We convince ourselves, like, man, I can't believe we're waiting for football to start, and then suddenly we're in week 6. But
Right.
when you guys look at it and you kind of see them, it's mapped out in front of you. ESPN put you guys today as the second most difficult schedule played thus far in college football. Number one was Alabama. Is that the way you guys? I mean, honestly, you don't know how tough a schedule is until we kind of start to see that SMU is pretty dang good. Kansas State is probably going to be on the warpath the rest of the year as well. So when you see that and you see that it was a difficult schedule and you guys are undefeated, that must be a pretty big boost as well.
Yeah, no, I think it helps, just seeing, like, hey, like, because even after the SMU game, everyone's trying to find fault in that and trying to find ways to say, well, SMU just isn't that good, and it's like, well, actually, they are pretty good, and but like you said, it's the same way for us. We don't know that in the moment, so we're not focused on the other team. We're focused on what we can do and what we have to accomplish that week to go out there and perform our best, because we expect every week to come out and get that team's best game. Because if you just look across college football from week to week, the parity is just, it's crazy. You never know what you're going to get week in and week out. And so you have to prepare for that team's best, because there's a good chance that you'll get it. And so I think that's where our focus more lies. And then how their schedule shakes out and how their record shakes out and how good they are by the end of the year, that'll come later. But we're expecting the team's best shot. And we're preparing week in and week out to go and perform well against their best.
Connor Pay, BYU offensive lineman and captain of this team, and we get to talk to him every week. You got the update from him, and Connor, we always appreciate how transparent you are with us, and we appreciate you joining us, and we want you to get better as quick as possible because it's it's a fun season. We don't want you to miss any of it.
Yeah, me neither. So I'm gonna be doing everything I can to get back as fast as possible.
Hey,
right.
Can't wait to see you back on the field, Connor.
Stay
Thanks.
healthy, yeah. Get better soon.
Thank
Here we
you,
go.
guys.
We'll take the break. We'll come back. We got more to go right around the corner. 97.5 VKSL Sports Zone.